It started with a small fight over tea, and ended with a man walking out of his home, slamming the door so loud. The silence afterward never left. That night, something broke forever. Adil had always been a quiet man. He worked hard, came home, tired, and wanted peace. But that evening, something was different. His hands were shaking. His eyes looked tired, angry, full of pain. Sarah, his wife, was serving tea in the living room. Their 10-year-old son, Hamza, was doing his homework on the sofa. "Where's the sugar?" Adil asked sharply. Sarah looked confused. "I thought you stopped taking sugar." Adil stood up. "I never said that." "You said it last week," Sarah replied calmly. That's when Adil's voice turned louder. "Why can't you people listen? Why does no one understand me in this house?" Hamza looked up, scared. Sarah tried to stay calm. "Adil, please sit down. You're tired. Let's talk after dinner." But Adil wasn't listening anymore. He shouted louder. "No, I'm always tired, and this house feels like a prison." Sarah stepped back. Her hands were shaking now. Hamza ran to the corner and hid behind the curtain. Adil grabbed his jacket. "I need air. I can't breathe here," Sarah whispered. "Please don't leave like this." But Adil didn't stop. He walked to the door, opened it, turned around for 1 second, and then slammed it shut. The sound echoed through the house like thunder. Hamza began to cry. Sarah stood still, staring at the door. It didn't open again. 1 hour passed, then 2, then 3. Adil didn't call. He didn't message. He just vanished. Sarah sat on the sofa, holding Hamza's small hand. "Will Baba come back?" Hamza asked in a soft voice. "I don't know, Beta," she replied, trying not to cry. She walked into their bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed. Adil's pillow was still warm. His slippers were beside the door. His phone charger still plugged. And everything felt normal, but nothing was. The next morning, Sarah woke up early. She checked her phone. No missed calls, no messages. She called Adil's office. They said he hadn't come in. She asked his friend. No one knew where he went. Panic started growing in her chest. She didn't tell Hamza everything. Just said Baba needed some time to cool down. Hamza nodded quietly, but his eyes were full of fear. Days passed. Then a week. No sign of Adil. Sarah began to lose sleep. She cooked dinner every night, just in case he came home hungry. She kept his side of the bed empty, just in case he walked in. She started writing in a small diary, pouring out her feelings. "Why did you leave like that? Was one argument so big you had to disappear? Do you even miss us?" She left those pages on the table, hoping maybe Adil would come, read them, and say something, but the pages stayed untouched. One day, while cleaning the cupboard, Sarah found something strange, a small piece of paper inside Adil's jacket pocket. It was old and half torn. It said, "When I feel like breaking, I leave before I destroy." Sarah sat down, holding the paper. Maybe Adil didn't leave to run away. Maybe he left because he was scared of himself. Hamza, meanwhile, had stopped smiling. He stopped asking where Baba went. He just waited. Quietly. He began writing small letters on white paper and putting them in his toy box. "Dear Baba, I miss you. I promise I'll behave. Dear Baba, Mama cries at night. Please come home. Dear Baba, I'll be strong, but please don't forget me." He never showed these letters to anyone, not even to Sarah. The neighborhood started whispering. People asked Sarah questions. Did he run away? Was there another woman? Why don't you go file a report? But Sarah stayed quiet. She didn't believe he was gone forever. She believed he would come back, not just because she missed him, but because she believed in one thing. No shout is louder than silence, and no storm lasts forever, but deep inside her heart, one fear still lived. If he comes back, will he still be the same Adil they once knew? The walls still stood. The clock still ticked. But the laughter, it was missing. Because when Adil walked out that night, he didn't just leave a house. He left behind a silence that touched every corner. 1 month passed. No call. No letter. No message. Sarah tried to live normally. She woke Hamza up for school. She made breakfast. She washed clothes. But everything felt empty. Even the tea didn't taste the same. Hamza had changed, too. He stopped asking questions. He stopped watching cartoons. He just stared at the door, waiting. One evening, Sarah made his favorite food, biryani. "Hamza, come eat." "I'm not hungry," he replied softly, his eyes still fixed on the door. "Beta, at least have some rice." "No, I'll wait. Maybe Baba will come tonight." Sarah turned her face away. She didn't want Hamza to see her tears. At night, when Hamza was asleep, Sarah sat alone in the living room. The fan made a soft sound. A bulb flickered in the kitchen. She looked at Adil's shoes still placed near the door, his old jacket still hanging behind the door. She had not touched them. It felt wrong, as if removing those things would mean he was really gone. The next day, Sarah went to the market. As she picked up vegetables, a woman stopped her. "Sarah, how are you? It's been a while." "I'm fine," she replied. "Where's Adil Bhai?" the woman asked with a smile. Sarah froze. "He's out of town," she said quietly. "Oh," the woman replied, nodding slowly. "Hope he returns soon." But her eyes were full of doubt. Sarah turned away quickly and left the market. Her hands were shaking. People were starting to talk. Back at home, she opened Adil's drawer. Inside, she found an old notebook. Adil used to write in it when he was stressed. She turned the pages. Most were empty. But one page had a short note. "Sometimes I feel like I'm not enough for this world. I shout because it's easier than crying." Sarah closed the notebook, gently. Her heart felt heavy. She never knew he was carrying so much inside. Hamza came into the room. "Mama, where's Baba's phone?" Sarah looked at him. "Why?" "I want to call him." Sarah sat down. "Beta." He didn't take his phone. Hamza nodded. "Okay, I'll just write another letter." He went to his room, picked up his notebook, and began writing again. Sarah followed quietly and stood outside his door. She listened to him whisper the words as he wrote. "Dear Baba, we miss you every day. I cleaned my room. I got a gold star in class. I wish you were there to see it. Please come back." Sarah covered her mouth to stop herself from crying. That night, she cleaned the house. When she entered Adil's side of the wardrobe, she found a small photo. It was a picture of their wedding day. Behind the photo, Adil had written one line. "When I feel lost, this picture reminds me where I belong." Sarah sat down on the floor, holding the photo tight. "I wish you remembered that before you left," she whispered. The days became colder. The winter came. Sarah bought a small heater for Hamza's room. Every night she tucked him in with extra blankets. Still no sign of Adil. But something strange happened one morning. Hamza came running from his room. "Mama, look!" He held a small paper. It was from his toy box, but this one was different, not written by him. Sarah opened it. It read, "I saw your letters, my son. I am sorry. I want to come home, but I don't know if I deserve it." Sarah looked at the paper again. The handwriting. It was Adil's. She looked around. How did it get in the box? When? Did he come? Hamza's eyes were full of hope. Sarah didn't know what to say. Was it a dream, a mistake, or was it real? One thing was clear. Adil was still out there, watching, reading, and maybe, just maybe, trying to come back. They were just simple letters written by a child with a broken heart, folded and hidden in a toy box, never sent. But what if someone was reading them in secret? Hamza had now made it a habit. Every night before sleeping, he wrote a letter to his Baba. He didn't use fancy paper, just pages from an old notebook. He didn't even use an envelope. He just folded them and placed them inside his toy box. It was his secret, his hope, his only way to talk to the man who disappeared without saying goodbye. Sarah knew about the letters now. She had read a few when Hamza wasn't looking. They were full of love, confusion, and pain. Dear Baba, Mama made your favorite tea today. Dear Baba, the new boy in school said I don't have a father. I told him you're coming soon. Dear Baba, I saw your slippers. I cleaned them. They're waiting for you. These letters were soft, like a whisper, but strong enough to break a mother's heart. One cold evening, Sarah found something strange again, a new paper inside the toy box. This one was not in Hamza's handwriting. It was in Adil's. She stared at the words. Hamza, I don't know if I'm brave enough to face you, but your letters reached me somehow. I miss you more than I can explain. Sarah held the paper close. Her hands were cold, but her eyes were burning with tears. Had Adil come back? Did he read Hamza's letters and leave his own without being seen? Why didn't he knock on the door? Why didn't he speak? The next morning, Sarah checked the front yard. There were footprints, fresh ones. They led to the window and stopped near the toy box. He had come, quietly, in the dark, like a ghost. Hamza was happy. He came, Mama. Baba read my letters. Yes. Beta. Sarah smiled softly. He read them. Will he come again? Hamza asked. I hope so, she replied. But inside, her heart was full of questions. Meanwhile, far away in a small town, Adil sat alone in a small rented room above a garage. His clothes were dusty. His face looked older, tired, lonely. But on his small wooden table were letters. Hamza's letters. He had taken a few from the toy box on the nights he visited. He read them again and again. They gave him strength. They made him cry. He wanted to return. But something inside him was still broken. He remembered the night he shouted at Sarah, the look in Hamza's eyes. He was afraid that if he came back, they wouldn't forgive him. He didn't want to break the... Sometimes, a stranger says something that cuts deeper than a friend ever could. One old man's quiet advice stayed in Adil's heart, and it was those simple words that turned his feet back toward home. Adil stood outside a bus station, holding Hamza's latest letter in his hand. The sky was cloudy. His mind was too. He had read the letter 10 times already. The small words written in childish handwriting felt louder than any scream. Dear Baba, it's okay if you're scared. I'm scared too, but I miss you more than I fear you. Come back, I'll wait. The paper was slightly torn at the edge. There was a smudge where maybe a tear had fallen. Adil didn't know if it was Hamza's or his own. He remembered the old man again. Go back before the door closes forever. That. One line kept playing in his head. Adil looked at the ticket counter. Then at his shaking hands. Could he really go back? Face Sarah? Face his son? Or would they close the door in his face? Back home, Sarah was folding clothes when Hamza came running in. Mama, can I stay up tonight? Maybe Baba will come? Sarah smiled, sadly. Let's see, Beta. Hamza sat by the window the whole evening, eyes wide open, waiting. But Adil didn't come. Not that night. Next morning, Sarah went to the shop to buy milk. As she waited at the counter, a woman looked at her and said, Still, no sign of your husband? Sarah was silent. You're very strong, the woman added. I would have left by now. Sarah looked at her and replied softly, "I can't leave. My son still waits." The woman nodded but didn't understand. Meanwhile, in the town far away, Adil finally made a decision. He packed his few clothes in a small bag. He didn't have much left. Just the letters, one photo of Sarah and Hamza, and a heart full of regret. As he walked toward the bus, he saw the old man again. The one. With the bicycle, Adil walked up to him. "I'm going home," he said quietly. The man smiled. "Good, don't knock too late." Adil nodded. "Thank you for what you said." The man looked at him and said gently, "Words are cheap, but courage is what heals a broken house." Back at home, that evening felt different. There was a strange silence in the air, one that wasn't sad, but waiting. Sarah cooked quietly. Hamza had drawn a picture. It was of their family holding hands. He placed it on the front door. "In case Baba comes, he'll see we still remember him." Sarah kissed his forehead. "He'll come, Beta. Maybe not today, but someday." Hamza nodded. "He's reading my letters, Mama. I know it." That night, around 1 a.m., a shadow stood outside the gate. It was raining lightly. Adil stood in the dark, holding a letter and Hamza's drawing. He couldn't move. The lights in the house were off. Everyone was asleep. He stepped closer to the door and saw the small drawing taped to it. He touched it with shaking hands. Then, he slid his letter under the door and walked away. He didn't knock. Not yet. Morning came. Sarah opened the door to get the newspaper. She saw something on the ground, a letter. She picked it up, her hands cold. It was Adil's handwriting. "I came. I stood there. I saw the picture. I couldn't knock. I'm afraid Hamza will turn away. I'm afraid you won't forgive me, but I'll try again. Tomorrow." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. She looked down the road, empty. But now, she knew he was close. Really close. Hamza ran up behind her. "Mama, who's that letter from?" She smiled and handed it to him. Hamza read the letter slowly, then looked up. "So he was here?" Sarah nodded. "Yes, Beta." Hamza smiled. "Then I'll wait again tonight. This time I won't sleep." That evening, Sarah made tea. She placed an extra cup on the table. The house felt warm again, not because Adil was home, but because hope had walked in. The clock struck midnight. A soft knock echoed through the silent house. They froze. It wasn't a dream this time. He was really there. It was a quiet night. The stars were hidden behind clouds. A slow wind moved through the empty street. Inside the house, Sarah and Hamza sat near the window. Hamza had promised not to sleep. "I will wait for Baba tonight." Sarah didn't say anything, but deep in her heart, something felt different, like something important was about to happen. Time moved slowly. 10 p.m., 11 p.m. Hamza's eyes were heavy, but he forced himself to stay awake. Sarah read him a small story, but even her voice shook a little. She kept looking at the door, waiting, hoping. Then, at exactly 12:17 a.m., knock, knock. A soft knock. Not loud. Not urgent, but enough to stop the whole world for a second. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. Hamza sat up straight. "Mama, that was..." Another knock. Knock. Hamza ran to the door. "Baba!" Sarah rushed behind him. "Wait, Hamza!" She gently opened the door. And there he was. Adil, wearing the same old jacket, a little wet from the night wind. Eyes full of fear and love. He didn't say anything. Hamza looked at him, then at Sarah. "Is it really you?" he whispered. Adil knelt down. "Yes, Beta, it's me. I'm sorry I took so long. Hamza slowly stepped forward. He touched Adil's face, then hugged him tightly. Tears flowed silently from both sides. "I missed you every day," Hamza whispered. Adil hugged him tighter. "I missed you every minute." Sarah stood there, silent. Adil looked at her. Their eyes met. There was pain, there was anger, there was love. He stood up slowly. "I know I don't deserve to stand here, but I had to come." Sarah nodded slightly. "Come inside. We'll talk." Inside the house, everything looked the same, but felt different. Adil sat at the table. His eyes scanned the room. He noticed the drawing Hamza had made. "You still have it," he said softly. Sarah poured tea, placed it in front of him. "I never threw anything away," she replied, "but I had to learn how to live without you." Adil looked down. "I know, and I hate myself for that." Hamza sat between them, looking left and right, like a bridge between two hearts. "I was angry that day," Adil said. "I shouted, then left. I didn't think, I just wanted to escape." Sarah asked, "And after you left, did you ever try to return?" "I did, many times. But every time I came close, I got scared. I thought you both moved on." Sarah's voice was calm but firm. "You left a child behind. He didn't move on. He waited." Adil's hands shook. "I read his letters. They brought me back." Hamza looked at his mother. "Mama, can Baba stay?" Sarah looked at Adil, then at her son. "Only if Baba stays for real. No more running." Adil nodded. His voice broke. "No more running, I promise." He reached out his hand. Sarah hesitated, then placed her hand in his. It wasn't forgiveness yet, but it was a beginning. That night, Hamza slept between his parents. He held both their hands tightly. For the first time in a long time, he smiled in his sleep. Outside, the wind had stopped. Inside, peace had returned. A family once broken was starting to heal. They slept under the same roof again. But just because a family is back together doesn't mean everything is okay. Some wounds need words, and some truths hurt more than silence. The morning sun rose gently over the small house. Adil sat quietly in the living room, a cup of tea in his hand. Sarah was in the kitchen making breakfast. Hamza was still asleep, peacefully, for the first time in months. But peace in the house didn't mean peace in the heart. There was still something between Sarah and Adil. A wall made of words they never said. Sarah came out with a plate of parathas. She placed it on the table. "Eat." "You didn't eat anything last night." Adil nodded. "Thank you." They sat in silence. The sound of the spoon hitting the plate felt louder than ever. Then Sarah spoke. "Why did you really leave?" Adil froze. "I told you, I was angry that night," he said quietly. Sarah shook her head. "Anger doesn't last." 2 years. She looked into his eyes. "Tell me the truth, Adil. What were you really running from?" Adil looked down. His hands trembled. "I wasn't just angry at you," he began slowly. "I was angry at myself." Sarah waited. "I lost my job 3 days before that fight. I didn't tell you because I was ashamed. I didn't know how to be a husband or a father without money." Sarah's eyes widened. "All those nights you came home late. You weren't at work?" Adil nodded. "I was sitting at the park, looking at nothing. I was afraid you'd see me as a failure." Sarah's voice was low. "And instead, you became a stranger." There was silence again. But this time, it wasn't empty. It was full of truth. Sarah whispered, "You could have told me. I would have stood beside you." Adil sighed. I didn't believe I was worth standing beside. Just then Hamza walked in, rubbing his eyes. Good morning, he yawned. Are you both okay now? Sarah and Adil looked at him and smiled. Sarah pulled him close. We're trying, Beta. Hamza nodded. Good. I don't want shouting anymore. Adil kissed his head. There won't be, I promise. Later that day, Adil took Hamza to the park, the same one where he had sat alone many months ago. Now his son's laughter filled the air. Adil smiled, but inside, he still carried guilt. A little girl ran past them, laughing with her father. Hamza looked up. Baba, will you take me to my school next week? Adil paused. Yes, I will. Every day if you want. Hamza grinned. Mama says actions are louder than words. Adil nodded. She's right. Back at home, Sarah stood by the window, watching them. When they returned, Adil handed her a small paper bag. What's this? She asked. He looked nervous. Something I should have given you long ago. She opened it. Inside was an old receipt and a tiny key. Adil explained. Before I left, I had saved some money. I kept it in a locker, thinking I'd return when I was better. He looked away. But I forgot that better doesn't mean richer. It means braver. Sarah stared at the key. And now, I want to open it. With you. Together. That evening, they sat together for dinner. Hamza told funny stories. Sarah laughed softly. And Adil? He looked at them like they were the treasure he'd been searching for all his life. But there was still one thing left to say. Before going to sleep. Sometimes, one moment, one sentence, can rewrite an entire story. He left in anger. He returned in silence. But now, finally, he speaks the words they waited 2 years to hear. The sun rose on a Sunday morning. The house was full of soft light, the smell of chai, and something new. Peace. Adil was setting the table. Sarah was helping Hamza tie his shoelaces. It looked like an ordinary day, but something important was about to happen, something they had waited for a long time. Later that day, they went to the small locker Adil had told Sarah about. He turned the key and opened the box. Inside was a bundle of notes, a small photo of Hamza, and a letter. Sarah opened the letter and read quietly. This was the letter I wrote when I thought I wouldn't come back, but now I want to read it out loud. With both of you here. She handed it back to Adil. His hands were shaking, but this time he didn't run. He took a deep breath and began reading. Dear Sarah, I left like a coward. Not because I didn't love you, but because I loved you too much and thought you deserved better than me. I was wrong. I thought being a man meant earning money and being strong. But real strength is staying when things get hard. And I failed. Let anger win. I let fear guide me. I broke your trust. I broke my son's heart. But every single day I missed you both. And every single day I wished for one more chance. Adil looked up. Sarah had tears in her eyes. Hamza held his hand tightly. Adil continued. If I could go back to that day, I wouldn't shout. I would listen. I wouldn't walk out. I would stay. I wouldn't choose pride. I would choose love. But I can't go back, so I'm asking if I can start again, not from the beginning, but from here, with you. Silence filled the room. Hamza broke it first. He climbed into his father's lap and whispered, I already said yes. Adil hugged him tight. Then he looked at Sarah. I'm not asking for forgiveness today. I'm asking for a chance to earn it. Sarah walked to him slowly. She sat beside him. Her voice was calm, but full of emotion. You don't need to earn love, Adil. You just need to protect it. She took his hand. And this time, we protect it together. 1 week later, the house had changed. Laughter came back. Old photos were rehung on the walls. Sarah and Adil started cooking together again. Hamza proudly told his friends, "My Baba is home now, for real." One evening, Adil sat with Hamza on the rooftop, watching stars. "Baba," Hamza asked, "what changed you?" Adil smiled and said, "A little boy's letter, a mother's silence, and one old man's advice at a bus stop." Hamza laughed. "That sounds like a movie." Adil laughed too. It felt like one. That night, as Sarah turned off the lights, Adil stood beside her. He looked into her eyes and finally said the words he should have said long ago. "Thank you for not giving up on me," Sarah replied. "Thank you for finding your way back." They stood there, no more walls between them, just honesty, just love, just a future waiting to begin.